Welcome to the exam preparation for AI-102, Designing and Implementing an Azure AI Solution. My name is Bobbie Russell, and I'm a Microsoft Technical Trainer. This exam is designed for those who have hands-on experience in using Azure AI, machine learning, and knowledge mining to architect and implement Microsoft AI solutions involving natural language processing, speech, Azure AI Vision, and conversational AI. You may have also taken the optional fundamentals training. After receiving the fundamental certification, you may have taken the official Microsoft training, either self-paced online or instructor-led training. Your path to becoming an Azure AI engineer associated involves several steps. This video series is your comprehensive guide to exam preparation, covering essential topics and providing valuable study resources. Be sure to also use the labs, study guides, and practice tests, and focus on the skills highlighted during the exam prep course to ensure you are thoroughly prepared. Once you feel confident in your understanding of the content, it's time to take the exam. So now, let's get started. This exam prep video series will help you with three key things. It'll help you identify what will be covered on the exam, it'll give you insight in preparing for the exam, and it'll help you determine which concepts to prioritize or revisit for further study. Keep in mind, this series is not a replacement for official Microsoft training or your hands-on experience. While it will guide you on what to expect in the exam, it won't teach you the topics in detail. Use it to spot any knowledge gaps and focus your time and resources accordingly. In this series, each episode will cover one of 6 groups in the objective domain. For AI-102, these groups are planning and managing an Azure AI solution, implementing generative AI solutions, implementing an agentic solution, implementing computer vision solutions. We'll look at natural language processing solutions, implementing knowledge mining solutions, and information extraction solutions also. Each group has a specific weight, indicating the percentage of questions that will come from each area. Currently, Episode 2 is the most heavily weighted section, so you may consider focusing more of your time on that area. However, to pass the exam, you'll need to be familiar with the skills in all of the groups, so keep that in mind. So now, let's dive into the content of Episode 1, which focuses on planning and managing an Azure AI solution. In this episode, we'll cover the things that you see here. Here is a list of all the different skills you may be tested on. These are sometimes referred to as may included, meaning they may or may not be on your exam. This list isn't exhaustive, and while we won't be covering every skill in the video, be sure you can perform these skills before taking the exam. Be able to provide a brief overview of Azure AI Foundry along with how it benefits developers. Know that when you come to the Azure AI Foundry portal, you'll find that all paths lead to a project. With Azure AI Foundry, you can explore a wide variety of models, services, and capabilities, and get to building AI applications that best serve your goals. So take time to become familiar with navigating through the Foundry portal. Now take time to understand the use cases for computer vision service. For example, Azure AI Vision is used to tag visual features, detect color schemes, detect domain-specific content, and detect brands. While the Face API is used to verify identities with facial recognition by creating apps with facial recognition for a seamless and highly secure user experience. Make sure you spend some extra time reviewing API structures also. Know how to decide which language service features are available and their use cases for applications. For example, detecting and redacting sensitive information such as PII or PHI would use PII detection. And if you're looking to extract categories of information using a model specific to your data, you'd use something like custom name entity recognition. You'll need to understand the 4 types of models used in information extraction solutions, as shown in the image. These models include pre-trained document analysis models, pre-trained scenario-specific models, custom extraction models, and custom classification models. Each model serves a unique purpose in automatically extracting text, key value pairs, tables, and structures from your various documents. Understand the differences and applications of these models This is going to be critical for you for selecting the appropriate service when it comes to your exam. So make sure you understand those. You'll need to understand what the purpose is of Azure AI Search. Know the key strengths of Azure AI Search and know how it's used differently compared to the services such as Microsoft Search. With Azure AI Search, you can execute queries over an index that define, use its crawler capabilities, and customize the indexing pipeline. Know the difference between that and Bing. With Azure AI Search, you can control data ingestion and push any index-conforming JSON documents that you want for search. And then same thing with database searching. With Azure AI Search, you can store content from heterogeneous sources and leverage autocorrection of misspelled words. Responsible AI is critical in Microsoft's AI services. You'll need to know the 6 principles shown here and understand what each specifically covers. So make sure you focus on that also in your studies. There are over 1,700 models to choose from on Azure, but don't worry, you don't need to remember all of them. But you will need to know that selecting the right one is key to enabling the right capabilities at the right price point and with the right protections in place. That's where the Azure AI Model Catalog and Model Benchmarks can help. So be able to list some of the appropriate AI solutions along with their use cases. Other things you want to keep in mind, understand the use cases for the SDKs and APIs to help meet your development goals. Here's an example that shows a request passing by a parameter safe prompt supported by the Mistral Large, which is specifically in the Azure AI Model Inference API. It's recommended that you practice using these in your lab environment to help you become more familiar with them and be prepared for your exam. Know when to deploy to a standalone Docker when you have an independent container. Also, remember to deploy to a Kubernetes environment if you have a container with multiple moving parts or components. If you want to practice this, consider completing the Deploy a Container exercise on the Microsoft Learn website. Azure Monitor provides robust alerting and monitoring. You'll need to understand how Azure Monitor can be used to monitor the AI service utilization and its availability. Review the various components of Azure Monitor to include things like metrics, alerts, diagnostic settings, and activity logs. Know the purpose of each and how they are configured. Understanding the cost and reporting of consumed Azure AI services is going to be critical. Know that you can use the Azure pricing calculator to estimate costs before you do anything with your Azure services. When you create resources for a hub, resources for Azure AI services are also created. I'd recommend practice creating resources in the Azure AI Foundry portal to get familiar with the resources that are created when you're doing a deployment. What are the keys in Azure AI? That's a great question. Know what they are, how they're configured, and how they're used in API requests as well as through applications. Know that each Azure AI service provides you 2 keys. Be able to recall the purpose of endpoints provided in the various AI services and how you can actually use those endpoints in your code. It's critical to understand the 3 main ways to authenticate a request. You can use a single service or multi-service subscription key, a token, or an Entra ID environment. Each method has its own specific use cases and requirements, so make sure you're familiar with when and how to use each one of those. When you're using a single service or multi-service subscription key, remember that these keys are tied to specific sources and services that you have. Understand API tokens. And then finally, there's Entra ID. Entra ID allows you to manage permissions more granularly within your organization, which is essential for maintaining security and control over who can access what. So understand these authentication methods thoroughly in preparation for your exam. Know the various content moderation solutions. It's essential to understand the various use cases for Azure AI content safety. Another critical aspect to focus on is the practical implementation of these solutions. This image shows a screenshot of the Azure portal interface, demonstrating how to set up policies for harmful content detection. Know that Azure AI Foundry includes a content safety, try it out page that lets you use the core detection models and other content safety features. Understand the steps to configure and to implement responsible AI insights, including content safety, filters, and block lists. I'd also focus on understanding what safety, filters, and block lists are. It's critical to understand the concept of prompt shields. These are designed to detect various types of input attacks, such as user prompt attacks, document attacks, and third-party attacks. Another important area to focus on is harm detection. Additionally, it's important to understand the severity levels, which range from anywhere from 0, which is safe, to level 6, which is high. By understanding these concepts, you'll be better equipped for your exam. So, let's go over some key points here. First, it's essential to understand how to create an Azure AI resource. This involves setting up the necessary infrastructure within the Azure platform to support your AI functionalities. Knowing how to do this will be a fundamental thing in preparation for your exam. Another critical aspect is determining a default endpoint for a service. This step ensures that the service can be accessed reliably and consistently by other applications or users. It's all about making sure your AI services are available when you need them. Also, remember, when preparing, understand the best methods and tools to ensure that your models perform optimally in different environments. It's not just about getting your model out there, but making sure it works well whenever it's deployed. Integrating your Azure AI services into a continuous integration and continuous delivery or CI/CD pipeline is vital for maintaining continuous improvement and delivery of your applications. This process helps automate testing, development, deployment, and updates, making your workflow more efficient. Lastly, understand that AI governance framework and its components, which is going to be important. Understanding these points will not only help you in your exam, but will also equip you with practical skills for managing your Azure-based AI solutions effectively. To recap, in this episode, we discussed the following things, as you see here. Remember, this group accounts for about 10 to 15% of your exam, so keep that in mind when you're preparing for your exam. Thank you for watching episode 1 on planning and managing the Azure AI solution. Be sure to join us for episode 2, where we're going to cover implementing generative AI solutions.